George Best, a former hero at Old Trafford and one of the most talented players that the world has ever seen. But sadly, it wasn't his sublime talent that the Irish prodigy became most renowned for. When his playing form hit the skids, it was his off-field activities that not only made the headlines, but went on to consume and ultimately claim his life. Best burst onto the scene in the late 60s and took the world by storm with his explosive speed, mesmerizing ball control and ability to score goals from either foot. Playing on the wing, he scored just as many goals as he set up, redefining the role of the midfielder and making it almost impossible to play against him. After his local club, Glentoran, rejected him for being too small and light, Best was given a trial at Manchester United and was signed up by chief scout Joe Armstrong.
What a goal!
He debuted for Manchester United at the age of 17 in 1963, and his footballing skills and on-field delivery were never called into question. Unfortunately, however, it's what he got up to off the pitch which started raising more than a few eyebrows. Perhaps there were just too many distractions. A year after he signed with Man U, the BBC launched a weekly TV programme called Match of the Day. And unlike earlier champions, whose celebrity had been confined to pictures in the papers, Best's goals and good looks were broadcast to millions. Television made the impressionable teenager the game's first superstar. He was sought after for everything from appearances on Top of the Pops to good-natured charity matches. Often appearing on TV under the influence of alcohol, George became known for playing as hard off the pitch as he did on it. His partying ways hit the headlines and he lapped up the attention. For the first few years, his demanding social life didn't interfere with his form on the pitch. In the 1967-68 season, Best helped his club side win the European Cup at Wembley Stadium, scoring in their 4-1 demolition of Benfica. That classic victory is still talked about today and believed by many to be one of the greatest wins by any team in the history of football. Clearly at the top of his game, George Best was also named the 1968 European Footballer of the Year at just 22 years of age. His career looked set to explode, playing for the best team in Europe with Bobby Charlton by his side and the great Matt Busby as his manager. Best seemed destined for greatness. Demonstrating prodigious talent that few have displayed since, he literally had the world at his feet, and his career could have gone through the roof. Unfortunately, it was all downhill from then on. The steady decline of his interest in football coincided with his increasing commitment to partying, and before he knew it, he was no longer the best. At 26, just 4 years after his most famous win at Wembley, George was forced to leave Manchester United. After leaving Old Trafford, his career took a sharp nosedive. Although he enjoyed a brief resurgence at Fulham FC, he clearly lost much of his trademark pace. Although he tried to make other comebacks, George Best's serious playing years were behind him, and he continued to be dogged by alcohol problems throughout his subsequent commentating career. In 2002, after suffering from many decades of alcohol addiction, he received a liver transplant in an attempt to prolong his life. However, in 2005, after continuing to drink solidly for a further 3 years, George was admitted to hospital with internal bleeding. Despite the doctor's best efforts, he lost the fight and died aged 59. George Best's famous fall from grace has served as an effective warning to many players who've since found fame and fortune thrust upon them at a young age. He once famously said, "I spent a lot of money on booze, birds, and fast cars. The rest I just squandered."